You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The Senate Human Rights Complaints and Investigation Commission summoned Environment Minister Saisam Al to discuss the request from indigenous communities to revise the draft law on protected areas and the draft law on forestry. The meeting, chaired by the chairman of the First Committee of the Senate, Yang Sim, was held at the Phnom Penh Senate on Tuesday morning to discuss the proposal of 16 indigenous groups, which includes a request for additional points on the draft laws and clarification on specific articles in the provision of rehabilitation to indigenous communities legally registered under the judicial police. The proposal also outlines how indigenous mechanisms and traditional measures should be recognized before the mechanism and enforcement of the state of law. The new draft law should be based on the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and Convention No. 111 on Discrimination in Employment and Occupation. Currently, the Ministry of Environment is preparing two new draft laws, namely the draft law on protected areas and the draft law on forestry, with 8 inputs from indigenous peoples proposed. Most of these inputs have been incorporated in both draft laws, however, 3 main points still remain. You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The General Department of Taxation warns legal action against some enterprises that have not yet come to pay their tax debts, and with only 1 month left until the end of 2022. EAC News reporter Dekanin has more.
In a statement issued on Monday, 28th of November 2022, the General Department of Taxation stated that a delay in debt payments can lead to enterprises facing legal action, including possible termination or suspension of business, suspension of bank accounts, suspension of business-related export or import, and further legal action in court. The statement read, "The payment of taxes is the duty of every citizen in order to contribute to the development of the national economy in all areas." The General Department of Taxation has stated that in order to avoid consequences, all business owners should pay their taxes and settle their tax debts at the Department of Large Taxpayers, the Department of Small and Medium Taxpayers, or at the provincial count tax branches by the end of 2022.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The Ministry of Education and Ministry of Tourism have jointly called on business owners of restaurants, guest houses, passenger transport services, and tourist accommodation services not to increase their service fees in order to facilitate candidates of the upcoming National Baccalaureate exams to be held from 5th to 6th December 2022. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
As national exams approach, many students will relocate to exam centres far from their schools and homes. The Minister of Education, Hong Chun Narun, has therefore called on owners of hotels, guest house and restaurants to not increase their fares in order to reduce the cost of food and accommodation that their candidates and their caretakers will need to take on during their exam period. At the same time, the Minister of Tourism, Tong Kun, has also called on all owners or managers of tourism services and businesses, especially those who own or manage accommodation, food services and passenger transportation services, to not to increase their service fees and possibly offer facilitated services fees for students and caretakers during this time. In the upcoming baccalaureate exam sessions on the 5th to 6th of December 2022, the Union Youth Federations of Cambodia will cooperate with city provincial governors to arrange accommodation and free bicycle and motorbike parking for all candidates. This year, more than 120,000 candidates are registered to take the baccalaureate exam, more than 60,000 of whom are female. There are 221 writing centres with 5,174 rooms and a total of 27,753 examiners and committee participating in overseeing examination progress. Exam results will be announced on the afternoon of the 27th of December 2022 for candidates in Phnom Penh and Kandal. The Ministry will announce the results for students from other provinces on the morning of the 28th of December 2022. In order for the exam sessions to run smoothly, the Ministry of Education has strengthened close cooperation with 6 institutions, including the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Health, the National Dromedary and Anti-Corruption Unit, the Union Youth Federations of Cambodia, and the Electorate du Campeche. The Ministry of Education calls on all candidates to comply with exam rules, especially not to bring any outside documents or electric devices into the examination centre or room. The Ministry stresses that the candidate is found to have brought any unauthorised documents or device, they will be automatically disqualified from taking the exams for violating rules and regulations. Additionally, if a candidate is absent from their scheduled exam or takes the exam but fails one of the subjects, this will be automatically considered as overall fail as well. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The Ministry of Water Resources and Meteorology has released its weather forecast for early December. EAC News reporter Dekanin has the details.
From 30th November to the 2nd of December, Cambodia will be weakly affected by high atmospheric pressure, and from the 3rd to the 6th of December, the confluence of both low-pressure valleys extending from the South China Sea and high-pressure valleys from the northeastern plateau. These effects will see the central lowlands receiving less rain from the 30th of November to the 2nd of December. From the 3rd to the 6th of December, there will be light to moderate rain mixed with thunder. The area will see a minimum temperature of 22 to 24 degrees Celsius and a maximum temperature of 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. In the highlands, from the 30th November to the 2nd of December, there will be less rain. From the 3rd to the 6th of December, there will be light to moderate rain mixed with thunder. The highlands will see a minimum temperature of 21 to 23 degrees and a maximum temperature of 29 to 31 degrees Celsius. The coastal areas of Cambodia will see light to moderate rain mixed with thunder. The area will see a minimum temperature of 23 to 25 degrees and a maximum temperature of 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. Dekanin, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The Minister of Commerce, Pan Sosak, has said that the government will continue to exempt income tax for rice exporters and rice mill owners for 5 more years. He made this statement during the annual general meeting and election for the 4th mandate on Wednesday morning. EAC News reporter Dekanin has more details.
Ministry of Commerce spokesperson Pain Sovichi has confirmed to EAC News that the government's policy to help the rice sector through tax incentives continues. However, he reminded that companies that have expired tax exemption documents must reapply. Minister Pan Sosak affirmed that the Ministry of Commerce will strive to help the rice sector in Cambodia become more competitive, highlighting how the royal government has also been encouraging more investment and expansion to international markets in this sector. He stressed that the Ministry of Commerce not only considers rice exporters, but also strives to help small-scale farmers, especially by promoting agricultural contracts between farmers and small-scale rice mills with work carried through the accelerating exclusive markets for smallholders. He stressed that the Ministry of Commerce not only considers rice exporters, but also strives to help small-scale farmers, especially by promoting agricultural contracts between farmers and small-scale rice mills with work carried out through the Accelerating Inclusive Markets for Smallholders project, funded by the Royal Government and IFAD. The Ministry of Economy and Finance on the 11th of October 2011 announced a minimum tax exemption of 1% on the annual turnover. Additionally, maximum income tax exemption includes a key period plus a priority period of 3 years. Since 2015, after the introduction of the first phase of the 2010-2015 rice policy, investors, exporters, and rice mill owners of Cambodia have been exempt from annual income tax. Taxes on byproducts from locally sold rice are exempt, withholding tax is suspended and waived, rice export fees are exempt, and payment for the Ministry of Environment's environmental impact assessment is also waived. There are also special preferential rates for rice exports on consumer services in Sihanoukville and Phnom Penh ports, and special rates on rice loans from the Rural Development and Agriculture Bank, which encourage other private banks to lower interest rates from over 12% to below 8% per annum. In the first 10 months of 2022, Cambodia exported nearly 510,000 tons of rice to foreign markets, an increase of 10.67% compared to the first 10 months of 2021. At the same time, Cambodia also exported more than 2 million tons of rice to Vietnam, a decrease of 8.27% compared to the same period in 2021. Dekanin, EAC News.
តើលោកអ្នកចិត្តរៀបអាពាហ៍ពិពាហ៍មែនទេហើយពិបាករកក្រុមហ៊ុនថតវីដេអូផ្សាយផ្ទាល់ដែលមានគុណភាពមែនទេអស់កង្វល់រ៉ាទីកាជាក្រុមហ៊ុនទទួលស្គាល់លំដាប់អន្តរជាតិលើសេវាកម្មថតផ្សាយផ្ទាល់គ្រប់កម្មវិធីកម្រិត 4K ដំបូងបង្អស់នៅកម្ពុជារ៉ាទីកាប្រើប្រាស់ឧបករណ៍ទំនើបម៉ាកល្បីធានាគុណភាពការផលិតតាមបច្ចេកវិទ្យាទាន់សម័យរ៉ាទីកានឹងជួយធ្វើឲ្យកម្មវិធីលោកអ្នកកាន់តែមានភាពអស្ចារ្យលោកអ្នកនឹងបានឃើញរាល់សកម្មភាពក្នុងពិធីទៅលើកញ្ចក់ទូរទស្សន៍ទំហំធំកម្រិត 4K និងការបញ្ចាំងលើផ្ទាំងក្រណាត់សព្រមទាំង LED ដែលមានរូបភាពច្បាស់ត្រជាក់ភ្នែកសូមអញ្ជើញកក់ពីឥឡូវនេះតាមរយៈលេខទូរស័ព្ទ012 823 848 017 838 889និង016 823 848រ៉ាទីកាទំនុកចិត្តការទទួលខុសត្រូវនិងគុណភាពខ្ពស់
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The president of the Cambodian People's Party, Prime Minister Hun Sen, highlighted some of the advantages that the party has for Cambodia, including the maintenance of social, political, and economic stability and the successful fight against COVID-19. Speaking during a meeting with more than 3,000 CPP officials at the Peace Palace in Phnom Penh on Saturday morning, Prime Minister Hun Sen said the party has helped maintain economic growth, manage disaster response in a timely manner when flooding occurs, and displayed good governance of the electoral process in the past. He added that the party has also led Cambodia to implement independent diplomacy based on the UN General Assembly resolution on Russia-Ukraine and had great success in hosting the 2022 ASEAN Summit in Phnom Penh. Prime Minister Hun Sen also praised all civil servants and armed forces who have made efforts to maintain political stability, security, and social order in the country, in addition to working together to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and acts of social unrest. He further reminded all party members who have a role in the royal government to continue diligently fulfilling their duties to serve the nation and the people, especially in maintaining security and social order by implementing the policy of safe villages and communes, and contributing to the suppression of various crimes and drug trafficking so that warmth and safety can be ensured for the people of Cambodia. At the same time, he said care must be taken to provide adequate public services, including all necessary and requested public services, to the people in a quick and efficient manner, with efforts made to eliminate inactivity. Prime Minister Hun Sen added that the authorities must take care to resolve land disputes for the people quickly and effectively, and provide the necessary services to the people in a timely manner to avoid causing problems. He stressed that all party stakeholders must continue to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and other diseases, in addition to solving various other problems that ail citizens, including those related to rising costs, traffic, water and electricity shortages, and more. You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The Secretary of State of the Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth and Secretary General of the Disability Action Council, M. Chan Makara, has urged for more consideration to be given to hiring persons with disabilities in public and private institutions, as well as in appointing competent officials with disabilities in higher positions. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the details.
Speaking at the National Workshop of the Progress of Implementation of the National Disability Strategic Plan 2019-2023, Secretary of State M. Chan Makara said that although the COVID-19 crisis is somewhat easing, the situation and development of disability rights in Cambodia remains fragile and sustainable in new crises of complex challenges in a series of economic, social, environmental, geopolitical aspects. He urged members of the Disability Action Council to continue cooperating in all fields in order to integrate disability rights into activities of all ministries, institutions and at the subnational level, in an open and inclusive manner. In addition, he said it is necessary to further improve the incentives provided for the persons with disabilities to work in ministries, public and private institutions, with particular consideration given to the position and rank. This includes promoting officials with disabilities that display their hard work and abilities as much as possible, responding effectively to the implementation of the National Disability Strategic Plan. He said, indispensable multi-sectoral contribution from relevant ministries, institutions, development partners to the private sector and civil society is required to further strengthen and develop a more inclusive disability sector. The Secretary of State also called for more consideration to be given to boosting economic activity, trade investment in the disability sector, especially the promotion of more direct investments from the private sector, and maximising benefits from various existing programs. Additionally, he said there is a need for strengthened disability cooperation mechanisms at both national and subnational levels for better cooperation in managing and many issues that persons with disability faces. In 2022, of total 3,748 persons with disabilities was recorded to be working across 37 ministries and public institutions. From this total, 862 are women with disabilities, indicating an increase of more than 2% compared to numbers of 2021, where 5,839 persons with disabilities were recorded to be working in the private sector, including 3,836 women. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Farmers in Svay district of Banti Minche province have expressed happiness over the price of rice in 2022 being higher than in previous years, after intervention from the royal government and provincial authorities, who coordinated with the price of traders that buy rice from farmers. This is even despite the fact that this year's rice yield has not been as good as last year. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the details.
Farmers in Svay district, Banti Minche province, say that the government's intervention to help farmers have made current price of rice higher and more appropriate for farmers to earn a decent living. Farmers said that at first harvest, traders' ability reduced the price to rice kilogram by more than 7 baht, which is below 800 riyal, making it so that the rice yields do not even cover the cost of ploughing. Additionally, fertilisers remained expensive while the rice prices were falling. However, after intervention and mediation by relevant authorities, a fixed higher price of rice was agreed upon the traders buying rice from farmers. Even though this year's rice yield was not very good, the price was made acceptable, said farmers Banti Minche. Farmers had previously appealed to the relevant authorities to help solve this problem for falling rice prices, especially asking for authorities to contact traders and establish an agreement to help buy rice from farmers in province every year. Separately, traders who buy rice from farmers in Svay district confirmed that the current price of per kilogram is between more than 900 riyal to more than 1,000 riyal, depending on the type of quality of rice. In mid-November, after delegation from the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries met and inspected rice farms, the Director General of the Green Rice Mill, Oknapul Poi, volunteered to cooperate with the Royal Government in launching a principle to keep the price of rice stable for farmers in Battambang and Banti Minche provinces, setting the minimal purchase price for Ramadal Type 1 rice 9 baht or 1,040 riyal per kilo. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The ASEAN Chair and Prime Minister of Cambodia announced the summit's successful conclusion and many significant accomplishments. Prime Minister Hun Sen officially handed over the ASEAN chairmanship to the President of the Republic of Indonesia for 2023. Prime Minister Hun Sen said that Cambodia's 1 year as ASEAN's chair was filled with many memories and has made history for the country. He emphasized that there were many challenges, both regional and global, that seriously affected security, the economy, and society. However, he affirmed that ASEAN has satisfactorily coordinated and addressed those challenges. He said, "I am pleased that the 40th and 41st ASEAN summits and related summits have been successfully concluded, and I would like to thank ASEAN member states and international partners for their full collaboration, support, and consideration, which brought forth many accomplishments to be proud of." From 10th to 13th November 2022, 16 summits were concluded. This was a challenging task, especially at a time when the world is dealing with complex regional and international issues that are changing rapidly. Nevertheless, ASEAN was able to hold thorough and fruitful discussions over the course of these 4 days about how to move forward and strengthen the bloc and the value of relations with external partners. ASEAN also adopted and acknowledged 70 documents and declarations that cover the 3 pillars of the ASEAN community, as well as a number of other frameworks on collaboration with dialogue partners. One highlight of the 40th and 41st ASEAN summits was that Ukraine signed onto the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia in order to maintain and deepen ties with ASEAN partners. 6 other countries, including Denmark, Greece, the Netherlands, Oman, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, signed the EAC at the 55th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and related meetings in August, bringing the membership total now up to 50. Furthermore, ASEAN issued a joint statement on the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the signing of the declaration in 2002. Regarding the recovery of the ASEAN community, the bloc adopted the Leadership Vision Statement ASEAN ACT Addressing Challenges Together, the ASEAN Leader Statement on the 55th anniversary of ASEAN, and the ASEAN Leader Statement on ASEAN Connectivity Post-2025 Agenda. In addition, following the second ASEAN Women's Summit on 12 October 2022, ASEAN adopted the joint statement on building a sustainable, environmental, and resilient future through inspiring ASEAN women entrepreneurship. At the same time, ASEAN was pleased to hold the second ASEAN Global Dialogue to exchange views on building a sustainable and inclusive ASEAN in the post-COVID-19 era. Prime Minister Hun Sen emphasized that ASEAN is the main driving force for communication and collaboration with external partners via ASEAN-led mechanisms. He said, "No matter what the situation, we must maintain ASEAN unity for the maximum benefit of the whole region. Promoting unity and solidarity will remain our top priority for years to come." He further added, "Regardless of the circumstances, we must maintain ASEAN unity for the benefit of the entire region. Our main objective will continue to be encouraging solidarity and unity." The ASEAN chairmanship was officially handed over to the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Joko Widodo, on Sunday, symbolized by the handing over of the official ASEAN chairmanship gavel. It will be Indonesia's 4th time assuming the chairmanship. Indonesia was also the first country to ever host the ASEAN summit in 1976. You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Hun Sen has confirmed that the watches made by Cambodia for the heads of delegation attending the ASEAN summit are worth more than $20,000 each. EAC News reporter Dekanin has more.
Speaking at a press conference on the outcomes of the 40th and 41st ASEAN summits and related summits at the Peace Palace on Sunday, the 13th of November 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen said that these watches were produced to show that Cambodians can do it. He said, "What it really means is that I want to reassure our partners that youngsters in Cambodia are capable of making watches as presents for the heads of delegations." The Prime Minister of Cambodia said that he will continue to wear this watch at the ASEAN Summit next year. As the ASEAN chair in 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen produced 25 watches as gifts for the heads of delegations attending the 40th and 41st ASEAN Summits and related meetings. The Prime Minister stated that a unique feature of this watch is that only 25 units are available worldwide. He emphasized the conclusion of the 8th to the 13th of November 2022 ASEAN Summit and related summits and additional bilateral meetings as one that was successful and fruitful. Dekanin, EAC News.
You're watching